Former Secretary of State is here, Mary Herrera, and we're going to talk to her about her career and how she started and during the time when she was Secretary of State. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
And I'm glad. I know you're busy. You're still, even after you left office, you've been pretty busy, which most people don't know that you've been. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
But, so how are you feeling now?
I'm feeling great. I'm actually retired, but not retired. I've been really busy with my time helping quite a few nonprofit organizations and committees, and now I will be getting involved in some future races. So I'm real excited.
You've been pretty active since you left. I mean, you know, I know you had a little time there to decompress, but right after that you came out and said, okay, well, I have to get back into the, because it's very difficult to get away from it and then stay away from it because so many people actually expect you to get back into it.
That's true. Well, I wanted to run for office since I was 20 years old, so I prepared. I retired before. I retired at 43 years old and then ran for political office. So I planned it correctly, and now you know, I've been just getting ready to get out and help some candidates. I'm going to pick and choose the great candidates that I want to get involved with, and I'll be helping them out.
Let me draw a little timeline.
Okay.
2000, you ran for county clerk, correct?
That's correct.
And you won, and you had 2 terms there.
That's correct.
And that's the maximum, I think.
Yes, sir.
And then right after that, you went into, you ran for Secretary of State at that point.
Well, when I was 20 years old, I wanted to run for county clerk. No, never did I ever imagine I would be running for Secretary of State. And I was talked into running for Secretary of State by several county clerks who wanted someone that knew the process from the bottom to be up in Santa Fe and really help out where they needed help, and to understand the processes that the county clerks go through. And that's the reason why I ran actually for Secretary of State. It was county clerks that talked me into it.
Does it help, in your experience, does it help, and I'm sure it does, but does it help to be a county clerk before you get into a Secretary of State position? Because a lot of it's dealing with elections, right? There's 3 other divisions there besides the election. But was that helpful in your opinion to know a lot about elections prior to?
Absolutely, because I had a lot of ideas and processes that I was sending up to my predecessor, former Secretary of State, that needed to be changed in the laws, and it just never got through. So as soon as I was elected, the first year we went in and we made all the changes to the election code, and we had laws in there that were contradicting timelines and so on. And now if elections run great, and there really hasn't been too many more changes in elections. So what does that tell you? Since I was Secretary of State, we've had nothing but great elections in the state of New Mexico. So I'm very proud.
When you went into the office, Secretary of State, it was a transition for you. You went from county clerk. You implemented a lot of changes.
I did.
And
yes.
I think some of those changes might have been met with a little bit of resistance there. I'm not sure if that was the case, but talk a little bit about that and how your earlier process was as Secretary of State. Because was there a little transition period there where you had resistance because you're trying to change a lot of things?
Well, I went into office and I had a $3 million deficit. I had no money. I had vendors coming to me asking me, please pay me, I'm going to lose my business. I had to reorganize and actually implement new positions in the Human Resources Department and in the finance. It was not easy for about 6 to 7 months operating with no money. I really actually could not even buy myself cards. I never ever changed the furniture in there. The furniture in the Secretary of State's office when I was Secretary of State never matched, because I didn't even have money to buy. That wasn't important anyway. And so... And
why was the deficit there, the $3 million? You said it was from the prior administration, from Rebecca, right?
Yes.
Secretary
and
Rebecca.
You know, I'm not here to bash anybody,
no,
but I did inherit it.
From her time period there.
Yes.
And then you inherited that. And you
I
had
inherited
to,
it,
okay.
yes. $3 million deficit. Then I had the federal auditors come in to audit the Help America Vote Act, and there was no financial person. So I, having a financial background, stayed there till 2, 3 in the morning with the federal auditors to accomplish the federal audit. And I saved the taxpayers of New Mexico $6.3 million by not having to pay back the federal auditors. Well, the federal government, they requested $6.3 million back. But being a former auditor myself, I was able to work out a transaction to go back and change the law, prior year law, where they would go ahead and transfer the advertising to a state law rather than a federal, because it wasn't in the federal, it wasn't allowed in the federal Help America Vote Act funding. And so I saved the taxpayers $6.3 million. I was there during the legislative session till 3, 4 in the morning trying to get that through. I mean, the public doesn't even have a clue of half of the stuff that we went through when I took over as Secretary of State.
Exactly, and I think a lot of your experience as a comptroller for Bernalillo County, I think, came in handy there.
Oh, yes, it did.
And I think this is how you were able to crunch the numbers and actually come up with the savings there, which a lot of individuals don't know exactly what those savings were. We saw it in the news, most people saw it on the, and I think the print reported a little bit that there was some savings there. They didn't know exactly what it was because they couldn't tell where you had got the savings.
The public doesn't understand. They just kind of look at the final numbers. But elections, when I went in as Secretary of State, were $5.6 million. When I left office, it was at 3.4. And also when I left the office, I had 22 audit findings. I left with 0 audit findings with an unqualified audit. I mean, that is a big accomplishment. And unless you have a financial background, you're not going to understand it. And the general public doesn't understand, you know, what it takes to get to that point. I'm very proud. I'm very proud of my accomplishments.
And I remember the audit, I think it was a local company that had done that. I think Atkinson, they're the ones that did the audit?
Right, the state audit, yes, yes. Every agency is audited every year, and we have to contract out with an audit firm, and they did complete an audit.
Because I remember that. They stated it was unqualified, meaning there was nothing.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's the best you can get. With 0 findings, unqualified audit, that's the best you can get.
What was the hardest part about being Secretary of State? I know there's a lot of issues that you dealt with, but if you can pinpoint 1 or 2 items that you think were like, okay, wow, I didn't see this coming, so what would that be?
Actually not being funded 100% to run elections. Every year I had to go and ask the Board of Finance, give me enough money to run elections. And then they tell me, no, go see the legislators. And then I'd go to them and they'd say, go back to Board of Finance. And so to be operating and preparing for an election at $3.4 million and being short $1 million was very difficult.
I think so. Financial was the main thing.
That was the most difficult part. Everything else, rewarding.
I think so, yeah. We'll take a short break in a few minutes and come back and we'll go over a little bit more about what your accomplishments were during your term, okay?
Okay.
And then we'll get into a few other things and what you're about to do and stuff, okay?
Okay.
All right. So we'll be back with former Secretary of State, Mary Herrera, and we'll be back shortly. Thank you.